Dozens of alleged illegal miners have been arrested, and a scrapyard backroom gold processing plant has been discovered during a high-level anti-crime blitz in Krugersdorp. Police Minister Bheki Cele led the multi-disciplinary operation involving mine security, special policing units and the Hawks. West Rand residents blame illegal mining for a spate of crimes, including the gang rape of 8 women last week. Tumaole Mohlaoli has been following that story. He joins us now live. Tumaole, good evening to you. Firstly, let's talk about the kind of resources that we've seen allocated just towards the operation of trying, number one, to find the suspects behind the gang rapes. But it's, of course, leading to the bigger issue that often has not been dealt with, which is around these illegal miners and what should become of them and their operations.
Well, indeed, Kathy, when it comes to the issue of the resources that have been allocated, it is a massive amount of resources, both in terms of human resource capital and in terms of the man hours that have been put in place to try and effectively flush out these zamazamas. And it certainly seems to be paying off dividends when you look at the kind of results that have been attained just today alone. And this is something that was put directly to Police Minister Bheki Cele to say, why has this not been done before? Because the residents of Kagiso and many other areas across Gauteng and other mining communities, including the Free State, including in Limpopo, including in the Northwest Province and further afield, even into the Northern Cape, have been crying about the issue of illegal mining. And there seems to have been a lackadaisical response from those in the security cluster. But Minister Bheki Cele was saying that these operations have been going on for quite a long time, and that maybe the media not being invited along was a mistake in retrospect. However, they feel that they have been working to try and get a hold of this problem for the longest while. Now, when you look at that particular processing plant, if you will, quite incidentally, if it is incidental, it was placed next door to a scrapyard. What officials have been saying is that these zamazamas are often also linked to the scourge of cable theft that has seen, of course, Eskom and other power-related, power-related plants being vandalized, and that copper that they steal, which leads to breakdowns in the electric power supply, have also been sold to these scrapyards. But it seems as if the scrapyards are also seemingly complicit in these processing of gold and gold ore that is mined by the zamazamas. The owner of that scrapyard refused to speak to me on camera, but assured me that he is not involved in any zamazama operations, and he was surprised that the zamazama underground plant was found in his backyard.
Interesting that that would be the response. And the difficulty for officials, of course, is the fact that those that they arrest now are merely the foot soldiers, when we know that operations such as illegal mining and including, the theft of key infrastructure that we've seen over the last couple of years, that these are very specialized syndicates that are operating.
Very specialized syndicates, and seemingly with connections right to the upper echelons of the security cluster. And then this is something that is concerning to Police Minister Bheki Cele and the officials from the various task forces that were there with him today, including the Hawks. But the Hawks officials whispered to me, and this is something that was also echoed by Police Minister Bheki Cele, that there are some imminent high-profile arrests that will be coming in the next few weeks linked to the operations and the coordination of these syndicates that seep all the way down to the belly of the earth. When I asked who these individuals are, or if he could whisper where they would be arrested from, which sector of society, he says it's a varying sector of society, but he's not giving anything away, remaining tight-lipped, and that we would be there invited to continue covering this fight back that seems to be happening. Although Bheki Cele says this fight back has been long coming, many have been skeptical because of the lack of information. But when you look at the situation, particularly in the Krugersdorp mining area, that has been ongoing for the longest while, one of the key issues that has been a complaint by the people who bear the brunt of these turf wars between zamazamas, because you must understand, Kathy, that the zamazamas are not one big gang of illegal miners. Between themselves, there are turf wars that are raging both underground and spill over into the community between the Basotho Zamazamas, the Mozambican Zamazamas, as well as the Zimbabwean Zamazamas. That's what we know for now. And they are saying that these particular turf wars have then spilled all out into the streets of Kagiso and surrounding areas, leading, of course, to that unfortunate rape incident that we saw, which is just one incident over the last couple of months leading up into last year, the year before that, and even further if anything is to be garnered by what residents are saying. Interestingly enough, even, of course, the hostel community, and there's a big hostel dwelling community in Kagiso specifically, say that they've been under siege. Now, they are linked closely to the taxi operators there, and these Zamazamas have expanded their enterprise, so to seem, to robbery of the taxi owners, who say that they feel under siege as well and welcome this operation. They've been held up at gunpoint, their vehicles have been stolen, hijacked, and there have been other nameless crimes that have been inflicted upon them. So they say they are willing to cooperate as well, because unfortunately, although they also have their own problems when it comes to the taxi wars, being armed themselves, they can't match the Zamazamas, which is another question that needs to be answered, Kathy. Where do they get their arms from? The type of caliber of weaponry that was recovered by the police today, although we didn't see it, they say they recovered automatic firearms, including R5s, R4s. That's very specialized type of weapons that are seen in tactical groupings, including the military and specialized police units. How these guys who mine underground and seemingly have no access to any social benefits except for the mining, which is why they're here illegally, many of them, how they get their hands on these firearms is something that remains to be answered.
Tumaole, one of the questions that needs to be answered, of course, and today we saw the private security of business, including the mines in the area, come to be part of the operations, is the fact that some of these miners are operating alongside formal and legitimate operations.
Right on the doorstep of formal and legitimate operations. And when it comes to mining, it is quite a structured and very specialized kind of operation. And one of the things that they do is coordinate movements, and they know every inch of that particular landscape with which they operate. These would be the mining companies, because as, of course, being companies and being all about profit, they exploit as much of the land and as much of the resource as possible. So to have these Zamazamas in their backyard operating has been a conundrum that has been baffling many who have been observing this, including observers and of course, the police themselves. But what the mine companies are saying is that instead of engaging these guys because they fear for their own employees, they've tried to hire private security companies which have been outgunned. They've tried to call on the officers, the local police officers, who have actually admitted that they fear going anywhere near the mine dumps because of the level of firepower and the brutality with which they are met when they try to intervene. So the mining operations have, for the longest part, just tried to do what they can do in terms of flashing out these Zamazamas. One of the more startling things that they used to do is either let water run right through underground where the Zamazamas are operating to try and drown them out, so to speak, or send gases down through. And this had some levels of success. The latest was trying to flush cement and basically seal off those plants. Again, the Zamazamas have found a way around it. There's a whole extensive network underground, I'm told, where they live for months on end. And so now the only thing that has been left is to then partner up with police, and they have also dug into their pockets and reinforced the lack of monetary support that the police have been crying about by paying for the specialized officers that are supporting the police, as well as vehicles, as well as other hardware, I suppose maybe even those firearms.
Tumaole Mohlaoli, let's leave it there then for tonight. He's been watching that story, and he'll certainly be bringing us more updates in the coming days.